In the US, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel announced today that the military is taking a number of steps to defend against an attack from North Korea. The plan included adding 14 interceptors to a missile defense system in Alaska. Hagel said the move is designed to stay ahead of the threat from North Korea. Here to discuss the move is Pavel, director of the Brent Scowcroft Center on International Security at the Atlantic Council. Is this announcement aimed more at North Korea or Iran? Chuck Hagel mentioned both at his statement.
I think it's definitely aimed more at North Korea for a couple of reasons. Number one, the missile defense plan that the administration announced in 2009 was very much focused on Iran, and that is deploying all of the missile defense equipment to Turkey and to Poland and to Romania in a very phased plan that sort of tries to stay ahead of the Iranian threat. I think this is more focused on North Korea because we've seen some developments recently over the last 6 months that are troubling in terms of their capability to have longer range missiles to hit the U.S. They launched a satellite into orbit. It didn't stay in orbit very long, but it did demonstrate the technology that's needed for longer range missiles, and of course the recent nuclear test as well. So this is staying ahead of the threat, I think, as Secretary Hagel said.
But what difference will 14 new interceptors that aren't going to be deployed till 2017 really make?
So you raise a great point, and that was my question as well, which is it's a prudent measure for the 2018 timeframe when North Korea might have that amount. We're talking about a couple of dozen ICBMs, intercontinental missiles, around that time frame. So it's a prudent measure for then. I expected a little more about today. In other words, the deterrent today is very strong. There's 28,000 U.S. forces on South Korean territory, very strong alliance, but I think that ally needs reassurance. So I would have expected more enhancements to our posture in the region, moving ships that can launch missile defense interceptors, adding counter-battery fire to deal with the North Korean military threat. A little more assurance to our new ally, the new president in South Korea.
But how much do we know really about North Korea's capability and how long it would actually take for them to be able to build missiles that could reach the U.S.?
You raise another good point. So far, it's pretty clear they have tested one missile that can launch a satellite into space. That tells us they could probably launch a missile that could range to another continent, including the U.S. Would it be accurate? No. Will it be anytime soon? No. But in a few years, I'd say 3, 4, 5 more likely, there's the danger that this country could do something like that. Would they do something? Are they that crazy? No, because of the deterrent, the military posture that we have in place. So this adds a little bit to it, and I'm agreeing with your suggestion. It doesn't add a lot, especially for today, but it does help a bit.
Will Japan and South Korea be reassured by the rhetoric, at any rate, coming from the U.S.?
Well, part of the package, and I think the most important part of the package, was the second step that was mentioned, and that is another radar in Japan, which will help to defend Japan from missiles as well as the U.S., because this radar will look into North Korea, will help to target our interceptors on any missiles that are flying. And so that does a lot to reassure Japan and a little bit South Korea. What I'd like to see is more cooperation between Japan and South Korea because they both face this threat. The U.S. has been trying. I think we need to try a little bit harder.
Pavel, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. My pleasure.